Okay, let's jump into I guess technically it's our first segment.
First segment.
This is called, with no introduction other than this is our 6 to midnight. So basically what 6 to midnight is our weekly or bi-weekly. The things that get us excited, things we're looking forward to. And that probably sounded weird. But, there are things that come out in the nerd world every week that Howie and I usually are texting each other, a new release or, hey, this is coming up or we're stoked for that. Obviously, what's it, Star Wars week? What is it? Technically, what's it called?
So,
May
like fan celebration, and it's in London. So
yeah. So we've been getting a lot of Star Wars news this week, which actually lines up with my 6 to midnight that I'm super stoked for. I have been in like a Star Wars world these last couple of weeks. I feel like 1 week it's Lord of the Rings, 1 week it's Star Wars, another week it's a video game like The Witcher. But man, I know a lot of people aren't happy with where the Mandalorian season is going, but I've actually really enjoyed it. And so between that and the new game that's coming out, that's what my 6 to midnight is the new video game. I think it's The Last Jedi. I don't know. Did you play the first one with?
I did not.
Joker from Gotham series.
What? Cam Monahan, right? Like, isn't that his name?
Yeah. Which, if you haven't played it, you have to play this game because it's like essential lore, in my humble opinion. It's set kind of, the first game was set during, not, spoiler warning for those who haven't played it. It's set in the time frame of after Order 66 has gone down. And
so your new game you're talking about is Jedi Survivor.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think The Last Jedi, was that the name of it?
Fallen Order?
Fallen Order is number one.
Okay.
And Jedi Survivor is the new one.
Okay, got it.
So super pumped for it. I just actually jumped in and played the first one again. I don't know if people compare it to Dark Souls. I don't really think it's less Dark Souls,
really?
more Uncharted. If you like the Uncharted games, it's very story based, but also like Uncharted meets The Force Unleashed.
Are they calling it Dark Souls because of the difficulty level?
That and the gameplay is kind of similar in terms of actually the way that it's really set with Dark Souls is that I don't think you've played any Dark Souls games.
I have not.
In that game, it's really difficult, but like if you defeat an enemy on the map anywhere, they are gone forever until you rest at a campfire. So like these campfires are basically like your save points, your checkpoints. But when you save, you do that, everyone that you have killed has now respawned, other than like major bosses. But like,
got it.
So like anytime you leave, you kill a bunch of guards. If you go right back and save and you come back, they're all right back. So like that plays into the gameplay of like, well, I don't want to save it. I want to keep going because I don't want to have to fight all those guys again.
Right.
So that is essentially the exact same type of thing. That makes it sound like it's not an enjoyable game. It is really fun. And it's like it's a Star Wars nerds kind of game. So
got it.
Excited for the new one that's coming out. Basically, the first game, he is trying to find a holocron that leads to other Force users because he doesn't realize that to him, there are no other Jedi. He's like the last Jedi. And he was just a Padawan when Order 66 went down. So he's not even a Jedi. And so the game is a lot of that. And at the end, you'll never play this game, so I guess I can just spoil it for you. At the end, the new Kenobi series, did you watch that?
Yes.
Kenobi? Okay, so that underwater base at that planet, that's like, it's like a big triangle in the middle of the ocean, but like most of the base is underwater. That's actually from the first game and directly ripped from that game and put into the show. even how Obi-Wan like swims into it to sneak in is literally from the game. That's how you get into it during the video game. But like that's kind of the final planet or place you go to in the original game. Darth Vader is not in the game at all. He's not a part of the story at all. He's just kind of like an overarching, he's the big bad. But he shows up like right at the end, and he's like the most all-powerful thing in any video game ever. Like,
as he should be. It's Darth Vader.
Right. And I think that's like, that is how you should do Darth Vader. I love like scary, nothing can stop him Darth Vader version. That's how it should be.
Yep.
Just kind of like the end of Rogue One.
Oh, 100%.
That was fucking awesome. And so at the end of the first game, like there's a moment and basically like he steps in and you think you're about to die, but then you take off and you run and you get away. And it's a feeling of like, man, we just survived an attack from Jaws. Like we were not going to make it out of that. And somehow we did. I don't know where I'm going with that, but anyways,
that's what you're excited about. That's your 6 to midnight. You're excited for the new Star Wars game. We get it.
Yes.
Jedi Survivor. So Jedi Survivor comes out this week or
2 weeks from now.
2 weeks from now. So you will in 2 weeks, I assume, be balls deep in
I
Jedi
will be
Survivor.
knee deep in Jedi Survivor Vash.
Got it.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yep.
All right, that's that's good. So I mean, I'm going to talk about the other stuff we got from Star Wars this week, right? Like, so we got 3 new movies. We got 3 new movies coming, right? So we've got a James Mangold's going to do a Before the Force kind of movie. They talked to him and he said he wanted to do something biblical, like Dawn of the Force and the Jedi and all that. Like it's old school, right? So,
what movies has he done before?
So James Mangold, he did. He's doing the new Indiana Jones, right? Like Dial of Destiny. So he's doing that, and then Logan, right? Like he did Logan.
Oh, he's the Logan guy.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So
give me that.
Yeah. So I mean, like, I feel like we're in good hands, right? You know.
Yeah, I mean,
obviously he's
is kind of.
No, go ahead.
For me, that time period is kind of strange. In more of like a.
Well, I don't think we know much about it, right? Because there's not a lot telling those stories. Like, so we're talking about new stuff. So, director, he did Ford versus Ferrari, right?
Okay.
He did Logan. He did The Wolverine, right? So he did the two good Wolverine movies, solo efforts.
Wait, you would consider The Wolverine a good one?
Yes, I liked The Wolverine. I thought it was good. Though with the
back in Japan.
Yeah, I like that one. We're not talking X-Men Origins. Like, we're not going to talk about that movie. Right, but he also did, like, just to name a few. He did Walk the Line, right? Johnny Cash. Yeah, he did 310 to Yuma.
310 to Yuma. Okay,
yeah.
I'm out.
So what?
Can't wait for this movie.
So one thing that kind of got me excited about this news that's not directly related is if they're letting James Mangold do a Star Wars movie, then that means the executives at Disney have seen Dial of Destiny and know it's good. Right, like we're not going to get.
You're connecting dots that I would.
You know what I mean? Like if they're letting him, if they've already said yes, yeah, you get a Star Wars movie. That means Indiana Jones it's good. That means it's good, right?
We as fans are like we're hitting the jackpot right now.
Yeah. So then movie number 2, we got everybody's favorite Star Wars overseer, nerd hero, Dave Filoni.
It's like the second coming of George Lucas if George Lucas was better.
Right, what he's done with television. Like, I mean, like Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau with what they've done with Star Wars television is like next level. Like, yeah, give the man a movie, let's go. Right?
I personally think that's, I mean, obviously we look back with nostalgia at the prequels and we're like, well, actually we like those movies. But a lot of that, I think, is because of what Dave Filoni did with Clone Wars show. That they built lore into those movies that made them that much more impactful and interesting. So, I fucking love that they're giving him his movie time. Like, do your thing, dog.
100%. Like I don't disagree whatsoever. And then
what was the time frame on his movies? Like, where
it's
are they
New
set?
New Republic, right? So it's like between it's like Mando time, right? Yeah,
It's Mando
yeah,
verse.
it's Mando time. So it's after our old school trilogy, right? Before the First Order, right?
Did they say what, like, was that Jedi related,
I didn't see details on that one. And then I think that one, maybe they're going to wait and see, like, I don't know if it's going to tie the TV shows all together or something completely separate. I don't know if that news was out there, but I didn't see it. So either way, I'm going to go see the movie when it comes out. Probably 3 or 4 times. So
we know zero details about that, and we already know his is going to be the most Star Wars of the Star Wars movies.
Absolutely. Plus, it takes place in a time frame we're all really familiar with, which
Yeah,
I think puts more pressure on him too, though, than anybody else.
Because there's anybody out there that like can handle that. That's like, he's the guy.
He's the guy.
He is. He
him or
knows it
Favreau,
too.
right? Like it's him or Favreau. Like that's
For
it,
sure.
right?
Well, and I think that's why Favreau brought him on as like basically like second in command, because he's like, you're gonna do this. You're gonna be you're gonna make sure this is Star Wars, right?
Right.
But
Special
also,
shout out to Jon Favreau. Like listen, let's the guy. I mean, like he was
created the Marvelverse.
He was the chubby guy in Rudy, and then he makes like
Rudy.
you know what he made. Did you ever see Made? He made Made. Did you ever see that movie with Vince Vaughn? Right, like that's awesome. And then
The Replacements. He was the best linebacker of all time.
He's great as an actor, and then he comes and he makes like one of the best Christmas movies of all time, an Elf, right?
That's a Favreau movie.
Yeah,
I did not know
bruh.
that.
And then he's Mr. Iron Man. He brings Robert Downey Jr. in, and like he created that. He made the first movie, right? Like Kevin Feige's the man when it comes to Marvel, but Jon Favreau made that first movie work.
Yeah, that was so good that it kicked off an entire generation of movies.
And now he's kicking it in Star Wars. So hats off to him.
I love it.
So third movie, keep moving, right? So we're New Jedi Order. This is past the new trilogy, the new trilogy.
Oh, we're jumping in the future.
Yeah, so it's in the future. So it's 15 years after Rise of Skywalker, right? 15 years.
Did they say what characters were going to be in that?
They just said Daisy Ridley's coming back to...
Oh, that's the movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she's coming back as Rey to lead the new Jedi Order. She's the new Jedis.
So we're getting the movie that everybody wanted with Luke Skywalker after Return of the Jedi.
I think so, right? I mean, that's the way I see it. It's just, I mean, Rise of Skywalker, I think it wasn't everybody's favorite, right? I mean,
I don't think that was a bad movie, but when you have The Force Awakens going this way, and then you do the next movie that's going this way, and then the next one tries to go back the other way, it just there was no connection. Yeah. Though I did see today they posted that even though Adam Driver says he would never do it, they're bringing him back. Kylo Ren is coming back. So
we'll see, right?
Maybe he'd be a Force
Ghost. Yeah, but he's a Force Ghost. But I'm excited for that, and that's going to be directed by I'm going to butcher it, so forgive me now.
Shyamalan Ding Dong.
Yeah,
not M. Night Shyamalan.
Canceled. Charmin Obaid Chinoy. I hope I didn't. I hope I didn't screw that up.
Let's edit that one out.
So she. Terrible. Anyway, so I leave it in. Yeah, so she's going to direct it. I'm not familiar with a ton of her work.
I saw that she did like the Bachelorette movie is like her biggest movie.
I don't know. So she did 2 episodes of Miss Marvel on Disney Plus, the Miss Marvel
Does anybody talk
TV
about
series.
this Marvel TV show?
You know what? I watched it because I watch all that Marvel property stuff because I love it so much. I enjoyed the show. I thought it was really well done. But it was, it was very much. My daughter loved it, right? Like that was who the group was.
Okay. Well,
the movie was for her. Yeah.
Target market. Then.
Yeah. Then it was good, but it's good. So I think, I think there's a lot of promise there, and I think it's exciting to have Daisy Ridley back. I think she did a great job. So
I did enjoy Daisy
I just hope she doesn't go around telling everybody she's a Skywalker. That's the only thing I don't want. Because you watch the end of Rise of Skywalker, you're like, don't say it, don't say it, don't do it. But she did it. So, all right. So that's what we're excited about this week. I had a bunch of other stuff I could sit here and talk about Star Wars.
Yeah, we both were Star Wars excited.
Yeah, well, I had that. I mean, I was going to talk about the Dungeons and Dragons movie because I've seen it twice already because I love it so much. But when this news came out, it was like I got to talk about that, right?
Yeah,
so we're going to go into our big premiere movie of the week. The 2023 Super Mario Brothers, the Chris Pratt Super Mario Brothers movie from Illumination, the same studio that brought us Despicable Me and the Minions.
I did zero research going into it.
Yeah.
Like other than seeing the trailer and stuff. Like I didn't even really pick up on that it was Chris Pratt as Mario until like the movie started. But when I saw the Illumination, I was like, oh, I didn't realize this was like a Minion movie group.
So I think Illumination's part of Universal Studios, and they partnered with Nintendo, obviously, and it's like to let everybody know, we're not going to spoil anything yet. We're going to talk about what we liked about the movie without going into details, and then we're going to let y'all know, hey, here comes the spoiler stuff. Then we're going to talk about it. So. Like I had heard rumors, and this is like I read a lot of articles, some a lot of blogs and things like that. Maybe people that aren't, where I'm not reading like this isn't out of Variety or Entertainment Weekly or anything like that. But there was some talk.
We should get you a monocle for the. I read a lot of articles.
Yeah, it's like a magnifying glass. Like I'm really digging deep. But there was talk that Illumination is based on the success of the Mario movie. This was before the movie came out, right? And it came out huge. $377 million opening 5 days, right? Like that's gigantic. Like sequel is already probably going to get greenlit by the time this podcast hits. But so Illumination partnered with Nintendo. And there's rumors they're going to make a Nintendo studio if this is successful. Now, if you watch the movie, you notice at the beginning they do the Illumination logo, and then there's a little Nintendo logo with Mario and Luigi on it. So that leads you to believe, right? Like it's maybe just not just a partnership on one movie, that there is more coming. I mean, like, okay, first thing I want to say is like, give me the Legend of Zelda movie that I've wanted since I was a kid.
Facts.
So maybe, with the way Mario works, we'll get to that. So, talking about Mario, like visually, the movie looks fantastic. Like the colors are awesome. The character design is fantastic because it's a lot like the video games, but there's little subtle changes, right? Like the collars on Mario's shirt. Mario and Luigi have collared shirts, which is totally different, but it works, right? Like it doesn't seem goofy. The princess's dress seems a little bit different. Bowser looks pretty much the same. I think there's little subtle changes, but overall, visually, like the Mushroom Kingdom looks awesome. Right? The movie looks awesome. Brooklyn looks awesome in the movie. They do a great job of how everything looks and how everything ties together. There's Easter eggs galore. Like there's old Nintendo references. We're not going to talk into detail yet, but old Nintendo references. Like there's other video game references. It's awesome. Like there's a fight scene that's like you're like I'm watching Smash Brothers on the movie theater screen, right? Like that kind of thing. There was a lot of bad reviews when it came to the movie, right? Like critics were kind of divided on it. Like I think so. The biggest beef that I saw when I'm reading other reviews is it's a kids movie. Well, guess what? It is a kids movie. Like,
hello.
Not every animated film is a Pixar movie where we're talking about like death or like things like that. It doesn't have to be heavy.
It doesn't have to be dark and gritty. We don't need everything to be dark.
You
and
don't
gritty.
have to have 100 adult references in a movie to make it work, right? Like, I love a good inside joke or a good adult theme when in a kids movie, but I'm okay with it being a kids movie too. You can't knock an animated film because it's too much of a kids movie, or it's too simple of a plot. Too simple of a plot. Like that Mario's been around for 35, going on 40 years, and like every game is, I'm gonna go beat up this giant spiked turtle. Like that's the plot. Like we're not getting. We're not reinventing the wheel. What are you talking about?
There's no definitive Mario story or game. I actually was thinking about this. You mentioned with Zelda, same thing. Like Zelda is every game. It's like it's the same story in a different way. Like there's but Zelda's the characters. Zelda has a little bit more lore to it. All the games are part of a timeline. There's that. Like Mario, it's just like, I'm going to go beat up Bowser, save the princess. I'm going to go beat up Bowser, save the princess. This is our version of that.
I mean, that's most of the games are like that. I mean, most of the games, that's the plot, right? Like you're not going to crap on the Mario movie because that's the plot, right? So
I think that's probably, like, in my opinion, I think that's where, like, these movies now are, like Sonic. Obviously, there's a little bit of connection there.
Yeah.
Like, the reason they're so successful is because it's a kids movie.
Yes.
While at the same time staying loyal to the original content for nerds like us to be nostalgic on it, to be like, I know this is a kids movie and my kid is going to love it. My son loved it. He fucking loved every second of it.
Same with mine.
Talks about it still.
Yeah.
But like for me, I'm like, I'm going to go to this movie with my son or without my son, because
you're
like
dead on. Because I want to see it. Yeah.
And it looks like a game in a movie. Like they did such a great job of making it look like Mario. They didn't try to first version of Sonic where they give us something that doesn't look anything like them. Obviously, they got to learn from Sonic's mistake, and they're like, just give the people what they want. And
or
I loved it.
Learn from the other Mario movie mistakes. We'll talk about that more.
Yeah, we'll jump into that one a little bit here later.
But yeah, so like I thought the voices were fine. There's Chris Pratt, there was that whole big like he didn't even try, he phoned it in. Like the voice it sounds like Chris Pratt doesn't sound like Mario. I thought it was fine.
That was my biggest complaint of the whole movie.
Yeah, but I was okay with it. Like they kind of explained it right at the beginning. Like they wasn't supposed to be over the top, and then there was talk about Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong, like he was like Donkey Kong was just Seth Rogen, right?
Yep.
But you don't hire Seth Rogen. You hire Seth Rogen because he is Seth Rogen, right? Like, I thought it was fine. I didn't have a problem with it. Like,
well, I mean, you could say that same thing for Bowser. Of like, you hire Jack Black because you hired Jack Black, but like my biggest fear going.
But he hit a home run.
Yeah, he hit
Jack Black killed
grand slam.
Oh, he killed it.
That I think my not biggest worry, because I'm not one of those moviegoers. It's like I'm so worried of how they did these characters, but like. When I realized Chris Pratt was the voice, like I immediately was like, "Oh, I just hear Chris Pratt. I don't hear Super Mario." Like when they did not to get into spoilers, but like they have the original voice in there, and the kid in me was like, "Oh hell yeah! Like we're getting Mario," and then like boom, just kidding, we're getting Chris Pratt, he was fine. I think he kind of went in and out of like a Mario accent, like. It felt like half the time we were getting Super Mario and then half the time we were getting Chris Pratt, which is fine. See that. What with Donkey Kong and Seth Rogen, I get, but like Jack Black, I thought out of all of them, I'm like, oh, I'm not going to be able to hear anybody but Jack Black. But no, his Bowser voice was awesome.
Yeah,
I loved it.
When that first trailer came out, and it was like, when he's attacking like the little penguin castle thing, which was the beginning of the movie.
Great.
That was the first trailer, and when he first started talking in the trailer, you're like, Jack Black sounds amazing. Like, I love Jack Black so much. So overall, it sounds like we both liked the movie. We'll give our review here in a second. But I think this is the part where we can, like, warning, spoilers are coming.
Yeah, this is the part where you
Spoiler
jump
warning.
to the next segment.
Spoiler warning. Right? So, okay. Jack Black playing the piano, the Peaches song, right? Like tickling the keys, like he's about to sing Wonder Boy, like Tenacious D. I wanted Kyle Gass to like be on top of the piano playing an acoustic guitar. Like that's.
I feel like that's where they missed. The only miss in this real movie was like a total whiff. Because he has his minion come and help him. He come sit with me. They could have done a separate Goomba or whatever and have that as Kyle Gass. It's like, be my little minion and play with me. Yeah. But like, I thought that the movie screen was going to light on fire the moment that he was fucking playing that piano.
So awesome. Have you seen the music video that got posted?
I saw that there was one, but I haven't watched it.
It's on. You can watch it on. Hold on, I got to pull it. I'm not going to play it, but I want to make sure I say what it is real quick, right? But it's Jack Black in a peach-colored room. Everything's colored peach. There's a bowl of peaches on the piano, right? Even the keys of the piano are peach-colored. It's on Lyrical Lemonade, okay? And it's already got like 5.9 million views. This music video, and he's wearing a 1 or 2 sizes too small emerald suit, right? Emerald green, like Bowser suit, and he's got like the studded like headpiece and studded bracelets like Bowser, and this big red like hairpiece. Like it's
I see it here.
It's amazing, right? Like so that part's awesome. Like Easter eggs. So what was your favorite part of the movie?
Honestly, I think we kind of talked about it. I mean, obviously, I really enjoyed Jack Black in the movie. I thought he was awesome. I did like the Luigi's Mansion Easter egg. I like that they kind of sprinkled in a little bit of Luigi's Mansion, even though it was short-lived. But like, my son has played that game, and he immediately kind of perked up and was like, "Dad, like he's gonna get his vacuum." Like
I know that's what I was thinking too. I was waiting for that, right? Yeah.
So I thought that was great. I actually enjoyed the Luigi. I don't remember the name of the actor that did Luigi, but I did actually
Charlie
enjoy
Day.
His.
From It's Always Sunny. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So that's what I said to Grayson, who had no idea what I was talking about. I was like, I think that's the Always Sunny guy. Mm-hmm. I liked that they put stuff from games. Like I like that they put the platforming in there, even though it was like a practice round tutorial of him trying to learn how to be Mario. Yeah, just all this random shit with like stuff going
Did you
around.
think at the beginning it was cool where they're trying to get to the plumbing job and they're like going through the construction site and it's very much like Mario's platforming through it? Yeah,
yes,
awesome. It was a good touch, right? Yeah,
yeah. Well, I like how they did that while Luigi was like struggling through all of it, and Mario was like doing all this extra bullshit.
Yeah, he's like opening gates for Luigi. Like, come on, buddy, let's come on, get it.
So like that was great when they hit that. I was fucking stoked for it. Loved that. I thought it was interesting that I get where Peach's character is like she felt very like Lara Croft Tomb Raider, like she's a badass. Yep. But I don't think she's ever that in any of the games, is she? Like, does she ever do any badassness?
I mean, so
she's pretty damsel in distress.
Well, we go back to Mario 2, the second game, which was, not the traditional Mario game. A lot of people hated it, but there's 4 playable characters. It's Mario, Luigi, Toad, and the princess. Like, you can play the game as princess and
That's probably the least played Mario game ever, though.
Okay, so, we're going to talk about video games in a minute, but like Mario 2 was so totally different and it was, that was actually a different game in Japan that they decided to put we're going to make this a Mario game. Like, this is going to be Super Mario Brothers 2. And, it's the most different of all the platformers, right? When it comes to like characters and the way things move and things like that. But they did, they didn't like completely like make it look like, they didn't retcon it like it doesn't exist. They didn't, Shy Guys in games now, Birdo's in games, like there's still characters from that, but But so, I mean, she's in that, and she's a playable character in a lot of other. You know, she's in Smash Bros. She's a Mario Kart racer, which you know. But at the same time, I think like let's be honest, we live in a day and age where it's like we don't want to do the traditional damsel in distress.
For sure. You
know, that's probably okay. You know, I didn't have a problem with it. I thought she was great.
And I think Luigi's a good damsel in distress.
His
character in the movie
He
was
very
good.
much was. Yeah,
So
was.
it worked out. What was your favorite?
He got his moment to shine at the end with the Battle of Bowser. Sure. I mean, that was a 2-on-1 Bowser ass whooping. Yep. And Luigi 100% got to take part in that. That was fantastic, right? Like, get me the Power Star. I'm going to kick the crap out of you, Bowser.
Yes.
Oh, my favorite part. Yeah.
That actually, sorry, not to jump, but that
you're good.
Also, I loved that it felt like I was watching. I mean, if you've played Super Mario Odyssey, which I believe you have, it felt very much like that at the beginning when Bowser goes to attack this tiny little crazy warrior penguin group and then takes the star. For me, I was like, oh, they've played the games. Like they know what we're doing here.
Yeah, 100%.
That's what I loved.
My favorite part was, I was like a little kid again, Rainbow Road. Like when they're leaving,
I figured that was going to be because
when they're leaving the jungle world and they're getting those. So they're leaving. They got the Donkey Kong army, the Kong army, and they have to pick out their go-karts, and it's literally like the screen in Mario Kart. Like you got to pick your car, you got to pick your wheels, you got to pick your glider. I mean, and then so I'm like, okay, it's Rainbow Road. Is somebody going to take the shortcut? And Mario does the drift, and he fucking leaps over the side to get to the one below. And I'm like, oh my God, that's awesome. Like, it's awesome. They even had the blue shell in there. Like when he's in the blue turtle, the blue Koopa's up on the big tank thing. And like the tank gets destroyed and he's like, blue shell. And I'm like, oh, come on. That's awesome. Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Those were the moments that I really was like, okay, like they knew they've played the games. Like, and then they did their research.
Yeah, they even snuck in the eel from Mario 64, right? Yep. Like he got his own little scene, and like I'm watching that, and it's like that thing scared the crap out of me when I first played that game. You know, when it comes out of the game, it's one of those things where it's like, what is that?
I love that when Mario first shows up and Toad takes him to the castle. They immediately kicked in. Well, one, they made the castle look exactly like it did in Mario 64.
Yep.
And then they kicked on when you think of Mario 64 and you're running around that castle, you immediately can hear the music from that.
Yep.
And that was the music they played at that castle. And there's a little kid nerd in me that was like, oh my God, this is so great.
I'm so glad you brought up the music because let's talk about the score. First off, fantastic. Incorporated the game music well. Awesome. Like they incorporated it with different versions that would fit, and then the songs too, like the 80s throwback, like when they're going through, they first get to the Kong village, and it's like, is that "Take on Me" by Aha from the greatest one hit wonder of all time? Like, let's go. You are channeling everything I love. So let's. I mean, I don't have anything bad to say about the movie. Was it perfect? Absolutely not. But at the same time, like, it's not a 50-50 movie. Like, you look at the audience, like Rotten Tomatoes. You and I have talked about Rotten Tomatoes before. Audience score and critic score are two different things. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Rotten Tomatoes gets a bad rap because of the way that they present. All they're doing is saying, like, this is the percentage of people that said this movie was good from critics. Now, are there critics on there that are like, we're not going to show up on Rotten Tomatoes, but at the same time, there's hacks on there. You know what I mean? Like, there's hacks on there, and they're counting their scores. And sometimes I think it's people just shitting on movies. Sometimes. Yeah. With that being said, I think it's still a guideline. You know, like if a movie is like a 5% on Rotten Tomatoes, it's probably a dog shit movie, right? Like I was terrified when I saw the David Harbour Hellboy remake because it was like 6% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I was like, I'm scared of this movie. And then I went and saw it.
I love that movie, by the way.
I thought it was dog shit. So,
I love David Harbour.
I do
especially
too.
At that time frame.
I do too.
I love Hellboy, and so,
I do too.
I think I was more excited for that movie because he got jacked.
Well,
just like, fuck yeah.
I was excited for that movie because I loved the Del Toro ones so much.
I did like the originals. I loved, they went with like not that I've read many Hellboy comics,
right.
but I know them enough.
Yep.
Like the David Harbour one was more comic. It was adult. Like he's cutting freaking people's heads off. It was fucking awesome.
Right.
Anyways,
I don't disagree with. Yeah, way off track. Anyway, is it perfect? No. If I had to rate it out of 10 stars, I'm going to give it 8. I'm giving it 8 stars.
I think that's about right. I think we've talked about this before. I am like the last person to be like, I'm not that movie was horrible, like don't see it. Like I give a lot of leeway for movies of like, we talk about this all the time, and I've not talked about it on the podcast before, so I'll talk about it. But like, there are a lot of movies that I saw as a kid that most people think are bad movies, but at a certain age, I didn't realize that like movies could be bad. Like if that makes sense. Like I didn't ever look at the movies with the lens of like, oh, they didn't act really well in that. It was just like, oh, that's the movie.
So I tell my wife and I tell my 12-year-old daughter this all the time, right? Like every movie is worth seeing once, even if it's a terrible movie. Because one, people paid and people worked to get that movie made. Doesn't matter what movie it is, right?
Yeah.
Every movie's worth seeing once. And everybody has different opinions on movies. And that's why I think you should see it.
Yeah.
Right? But so out of 10 stars, what would you give the new Super Mario Brothers movie?
Honestly, if I look at it from a kid's movie and not from like was that the greatest movie of all time? For a kid's movie, it did everything. Like, what could you do more in that movie to introduce kids, people who have never known Mario? Like, it's a movie that I know will buy and that my kids will watch, once a year, that type of thing.
Absolutely.
As a kid movie, it's a 9. As a normal overall movie in general, I'd say about an 8. I would say it's an 8.
So 8. So we both give it 8. It's worth seeing
in theater. Yeah,
if you're a 30 or 40-year-old guy that grew up playing Mario, or you're a 6-year-old boy seeing it with your dad, 8 stars. It's great.
Yeah. My Grayson has never been really good at the theater. Like, he's very antsy and stuff. And even we took our sons to see Spider-Man, and I think that was a little bit longer of a movie, but they started getting antsy at the end. Mario, it was the first movie that he's gone to that my son is 7. He sat and watched from start to finish, and even when I started like dozing, he like woke me up for the podcast. So he's like, "Dad, you got to know what's going on.
You got to get it together."
I got to stop going to movies at times of day that I sleep.
Well, you sleep at weird times of day, so that's why.
It's true.
All right,
I just don't sleep at all.
What's our nerd-stalgia movie of the week?
So this one, and we've touched on it a few times today. We thought if we're going to talk about the new Super Mario movie, what better way, especially when we're reviewing and seeing, how good of this new movie is, what better way to review that by putting it up to its sadly not Grammy nominated, not Grammy, Oscar nominated classic known as the infamous
1993
93 Super Mario Bros. Which, say what you want, for me, that was one of those movies that as a kid, I didn't know that there was a thing such as a bad movie. I knew, I guess I'd say I knew the actor from Roger Rabbit, but I don't really know I think the time frame of when those movies came out were different.
Okay.
But I didn't see Super Mario Bros. In the theater. I was
right. How old were you in 1993?
I was fucking 3. So it wasn't till I was older that I really probably understood it. But like, I liked the movie. As a kid, I thought it was great.
So you and I watched this movie a few days ago. When had been the last time you saw it until a few days ago?
From start to finish, where I actually sat down and watched it.
When you were a kid? Was it when you were a kid?
Probably not. I wouldn't necessarily say that long ago, but at least 10 years. Not since I've lived in Nebraska and I was born and raised.